YouTube, Indie Piper here with my second video in this How to Make Cold Brew at Home series. And today I'm drinking a little bit more coffee that I roasted. Second batch I wanted to show you. This is a Costa Rica I got from Sweet Maria's. And this is basically what the green bean looks like before you roast it. It's going to expand to about 50 to 100% of its original body size, and it'll lose approximately 18 to 20% of its body weight when roasted because it releases CO2, but mainly moisture and oil in the roasting process. So there's that. Okay, yesterday we made this, which is basically just coarse ground coffee in cold filtered water. I used 4 grams of coffee per every 1 ounce of cold filtered water. So, there are 2 ways you can do this. If you have a French press right now, and say you're in a French press, all you have to do, press the plunger, dump off the concentrate, put it in a sealable jar, set it in your fridge, and you're golden. I'm assuming you don't have a French press. Or maybe you're not a big fan of French press coffees. Then we're going to use this, and I'll show you the method that I've come up with that works best for me. It is going to be a little bit different than your French press method because the filter that you use is going to be a metal mesh, and that's going to allow for the passage of a lot of the oils from the bean to pass into your concentrate. It's going to lead to a little bit of a heavier body cup. So if you like thicker coffees, you probably would prefer to use a French press. So, it's been 24 hours. This has been sitting out at room temperature. Let's go ahead and finish this up. All you're going to need is just a regular coffee filter. It's going to need to be big enough to fit over your mason jar, whatever you brewed in. Now, you can use anything to steep in. To steep your coffee in overnight. It's probably best to have a lid. And I prefer using glass because glass is less porous than plastic. And I dedicate usually my mason jars to cold brew coffee, so they just smell like coffee. You're also gonna need a colander or some kind of strainer, and then some kind of bowl that your strainer or colander will fit in. And rubber bands. I have 3 here. So, what I'm going to do, I've seen methods where people take the filter, they put it in their colander, and then they slowly dump, and they dump, and they dump. That's really tedious, it's time consuming, and honestly, that's way too hard. But I'm not trying to, this is supposed to be easy and fun. Also, I try to utilize things that I have in my kitchen. I don't want to go out and buy anything. You could use a toddy method if that's your thing. That's all right. If you want to spend $45 to $50 on one of those brew kits, that's cool. That's going to work really well for you. The problem is, then you've got this cold brew system that you're only going to use once a week, twice a week. These things have multiple functions, and they're just laying around, so I didn't have to spend any money really, other than on the beans. So, after you fit your filter over your mason jar, put your rubber bands around it, like so. So it's going to look like this, right? Probably the more the better. It's also, I like using a mason jar because it has this ridge right here. So after you do that, you're going to take your pan with your colander. I'm going to try to do this on camera without making a mess. Basically, you just go like that. And it's going to drip out. Slowly but surely. You may need to agitate it a little bit, but I'd leave it there. I'll leave it there for a while. And let everything drip out. So once you get that concentrate, it has multiple functions too. You don't just have to make cold coffee out of it. I've personally never done this, but you can add, instead of adding cold water, you can add warm water. It actually, the coffee goes better from warm to cold rather than cold to warm, because if you introduce hot water, you're going to release a couple different things. You're going to release tannic acid, and you're going to release the minerals out of the coffee as well. Those two combined will cause the coffee to oxidize. That's why usually after an hour or so your coffee's going to go sour, and it's really probably going to be undrinkable. Well, because you're not releasing the acid and the mineral content that you would with hot water, this is going to last a while. I have heard anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. The coffee shop that I worked at, we would go through, and we would make it in a huge 5-gallon bucket. We would go through it in a week. So I've never drank a cold brew that was older than more than a week old. You can also use this concentrate. I've heard it, it acts as a really awesome meat marinade. You can rub down brisket with it. You can also make certain sauces with it. I've heard it does really well there. But my preferred method of consuming the cold brew is to take this concentrate and dilute it. 1 part concentrate to 4 parts water. You can also add coffee to that. And you could do half concentrate, half water. You could just drink it straight if you wanted it. I actually know people that do that. That's a lot of caffeine though. Because we have an elongated, in-depth saturation or extraction from the bean, you're pulling out all the flavors. You're also pulling out all that caffeine. So it's gonna be a really strong concentrate that you're getting. And so you may need to agitate this a little bit, but it's good right there. Eventually it will all gravity feed to the bottom, and you'll have it in your pan, and like I said, I just transfer it to a mason jar and put it in the fridge. Another really awesome thing about this method is it's super smooth, and it ends up being kind of sweet. I mentioned tannic acid earlier. Those basically, if you're familiar with wine, the tannins that you get from the red skin of the grape, that's going to add a little bit of bitterness, but it also adds complexity. So you're getting a less bitter cup. You're also pulling out some of the complexities that you would normally get with a hot brewed coffee, but you're getting a lot more flavor too. So it really is up to your preference, however you'd like to drink your coffee. There are a bunch of different variables too, and I mentioned earlier this is just the method that works best for me. So you could fine up the grind a little bit and only steep for 12 hours, or whatever you prefer. Try a bunch of different methods and see what works best for you. So that's how I make cold brew at home, and that's really simple, straightforward method. And then in the mornings it's very quick and easy to prepare. So if you have any questions, if there's something I didn't cover or something I didn't make very clear, feel free to post a question below. So as always, thanks for hanging out, and you stay classy, YouTube.